This was only a brief real-side experience, but a good example, I think, of how that which we focus on, even briefly, can result in an experience based on that very focus. Well, basically, I watched the television before bed. I watched far more than I usually would on this occasion, so just a personal self-decision in creation. Then the entire night of real-side experiences consisted of imagery, scenes, and themes pertaining to the nature of the content of that which I had watched, which was just random rubbish on the television, to be fair. So, some brief points for consideration. Number 1. Everything in creation is cause and effect. That which we project through the 5 bodies, thought, emotion, imagination, becomes effects that we experience. Number 2. The effects are instantaneous on the real side. The moment we decide, think, project something, it is so. It takes a while to manifest in the denser, one-dimensional passing dream realm that is the physical level. But everything decided, agreed upon, shows up eventually. Number 3. That which we focus on becomes our reality. What we decide, agree with, is again instantly so on the real side, but takes a few moments to translate through into the physical part of our experience. Number 4. Everything in creation is restriction, in that everything agreed and decided upon from a creational, personal self perspective has cause and effect consequences. Number 5. Everything here on Earth, all the systems in place, are reptilian based, so are based on control, and everything is subliminals, subliminal programming to glean unconscious agreement to the reptilian systems and ideas, which translate as cause and effect restricting experience, control and further destruction of the planet, which is the reptilians' overall agenda. Number 6. As everything is subliminals, this includes all the technology, which is a distortion of the all-natural environment, black magic distortion. Number 7. The television is a subliminal producing reptilian tool designed to program the personal self into agreement with restriction, control, and the degradation of the planet. Number 8. Consequence. Watching the television, will embed subliminals into the subconscious, tantamount to agreement to the nature of the subliminals, that being control and planetary destruction agreement. Additional, the theme of the television shows will embed themselves also. Those unconscious and unaware will be subjected to what is referred to as predictive programming. The programming of the personal self through agreement that is gleaned through the very themes portrayed in that which we watch on the telly. This explains why always the themes that are utilized at a certain moment tend to become overall human experience at a future moment, through cause and effect overall agreement. Number 9. Applying this to my brief experience then, that which I decided to watch caused a momentary agreement with the contents, which culminated in the real side experiences that night, reflecting that which I had watched on the TV. Number 10. Intent is demonstrated on the real side. If our intent is fixed firmly on a particular outcome, the real side will reflect this back to us, as what we decide is instantly so on the real side. Generally what we focus on predominantly during the day, where we place our intent, especially just prior to bed, as this will translate and display along the nature of the specifics of the intent on the real side. Although with this television indulgence, an intent wasn't set through watching television in regards to a decision, intent and focused are intertwined in what they culminate as to an extent, and a personal self-focus will translate as a personal self-experience relating to that focus on the real side. Number 11. But we are conscious of this process, how it works, and can make the necessary adjustments. We need not be too concerned with what we decide through our personal selves, but the overall intent and focus should be placed where we want it. If we want to become more aware and continually recognize the is, then we need overall place our focus and intent with the true reality. Repetition. I've had this experience before, where what I subjected myself to before sleep will result in a proportion of the real side experience being based on where my focus was placed. An example given was when I watched the movie It a year or so ago, and the subliminals, the themes translated as very disturbing and dark imagery. Number 13. The real side experiences are demonstrations by the guides, by either creating a scene or finding somewhere in creation that has the sort of theme that best conveys what they are trying to demonstrate. Also, the dark forces can set up situations also on the real side, that if our attention is gleaned, then we are in agreement with the dark forces' idea creations and can be tap-lined consequently. Additionally, there may be themes within that which we watch on television that may be attachments, agreements within our created consciousness. We may not be conscious of everything that sparks old causal vehicle filed tap-line attachments. The influence may well encourage that which we are not conscious of. That can be old attachments sparked through themes in the movies we watch. The influence being, of course, the created consciousness of every being in the simulator, and acts according to the desires of everybody, be they conscious, unconscious, or subconscious. Number 14. Evaluation. The influence then works with the dark forces to control, restrict, and contain everybody in cause and effect creation, their objective being to keep you here, watching what I did on television before bed resulted in an agreement, a focus on the themes of that which I watched. A little encouragement with the influence through the emotional body too, perhaps, and then the corresponding demonstration of my focus, albeit temporary, on the real side. Perhaps finding some place in creation that aligned with the themes as an automatic response to the focus. Perhaps created thought forms and temporary dimensional creations that were forged as a result of what I watched, or maybe an agreement to experiencing scenes on the real side through the TV subliminals set up by the dark forces along the lines of the themes of the movies, as they would seek to place such snares to garner agreements and place tap lines, etc. And 15. But we are not resigned to the personal choices we make. If the overall focus is with the is and standing in that reality, and we get a better oversight and awareness of the consequences of all that we do through the 5 bodies and the personal choices we make. We become more aware of the mechanics of creation, and we become conscious of the effects we cause, and eventually we move beyond even that when we have decided to supersede creation altogether. But in the meantime, we have the personal self we have to deal with and maintain, and occasionally we will watch a movie. We will get tap lines and influenced, tricked and bothered by the dark forces, but the process continues of becoming more aware, and eventually we get through all of it.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. I just wanted to say that, and Paul mentioned this too, and that is that, yes, we are the effect. That's why we're here. We are to be the effect of things, because that wakes us up like a big explosion that becomes the effect. All of a sudden wakes us out of our sleep and we start to pay attention. This is why the so-called dream area is very exaggerated. And it's okay to be the effect. And this is where you become the conscious effect to recognize what's taking place, because you need that recognition. And then as you learn to recognize the is, and then first using the sun as a comparison, because it is, providing something very real, but you got to learn to see it. Now you have a real comparison to see what you're going through. So for me, when I watch movies, and I like movies, and I like the dastardly ones, the adventure ones, and just on and on and on. But what I do is I put it in that, kind of like documentary mode. Movies and Disney and all these things were created as entertainment, where people just laugh and giggle, mainly unconsciously, just to have that thrill. They're still chasing thrills. And again, all of that is fine. Everything is fine. It's just how you see it. So now you can be conscious effect. You can learn to handle it and deal with it. There's a difference. Instead of being absorbed in it to where you're the effect, to where you become diseased, cancered, and you go into wherever and then come back unconscious again. You don't have to do that. So you learn to see the difference between cause and effect creation, the 5 bodies you have, and your real awareness. And see, then you can always pop into that. You go back and forth. That's what you do. And it's all okay to be the effect. It's just like every day you go to work, you come home, you take a shower. It's not a bad thing that you got dirty. I was a contractor for 40 years. I came home awful, but I took a shower and I started over every day, and it was okay. This is what we go through. This is a boot camp here. Everything is okay. Now you're conscious of what's taking place. So it doesn't mean that, you don't do it, or you don't eat pizza or have a Coca-Cola or whatever. I mean, you decide these things. And this comes in the realm of like and dislike, and that's your personal self. You have to figure out your personal life. What we're referring to here is the idea and the reality of recognizing the real you, so you have the advantage instead of the disadvantage from taking in information and all this nonsense and marketing ploy from deceptors. There is a difference. But we're still in the world. I am too. I am the effect of things here. I have to deal with it. I make choices, etc. It's all okay. But it really comes to your true and real intent, and you decide how you're going to establish that and to recognize this reality more so than just, oh, gee, I know about the is and I read the books and I do the new you. But no, to really consciously recognize it to where that it recognizes that you recognize it. So there is a lot to this because we do have the distraction of our personal self, but we need that also. You need everything. So instead of categorizing things as good, bad, right, or wrong, morally this or this, whatever, you just take it as it is, learn to see it as it is, and then just do the best you can so that you can get through all this cause and effect. Because it's those ideas that we attach to the creations or other ideas that actually keep us from seeing what is real. So it's understanding that. And so just like, so much of the world looks to a God. Well, and they use the idea of belief. It's very simple. So they've created this idea of belief, which is just like a maybe or a hope or, whatever. It's not a matter of fact. It's a belief idea. That's why they use it. And then you've got the God idea. So you've got most people are using this idea of belief as their vehicle to relate to this idea of a God, you see? So that's kind of like trying to get two cars to kiss each other, isn't it? Yeah. Is that real? Does that make sense? So, see, what they've sold the public is ideas and not the reality, because if people were to see their Lord God, they would see him as reptilian. This was the two-headed God that Paul talked about in the Talents of Time. And then as I came into this with the Rod of Power in 2001, I saw the influence, which became the three-headed God. That's the slippery side that most people don't see. They just look at good and bad, right and wrong. They don't see the influence there, and how most people are subject to it and are helped create it, etc. And we've all been part of that. It's all okay. Everything is okay. Simply wake up and recognize what's real, or just stay with your attitudes, thinking that you know something. So you become part of the know-it-alls that self-convince themselves that they know something, and you stuck yourself right where you think you know something. When all life is, there's a difference. Like the sun shining, does the sun display itself as a know-it-all? See, again, sun is a really good reference here. No, it doesn't. Is the sun happy? Is there a belief there? No, none of it's there. What is there? What can you see? More so than what you see here. It's all about seeing and being. That's the whole of life. It's all about awareness. So, yes, thank you, Kevin. That was excellent.